Hey everybody! So we are going to make some paper mache. I'm hand holding my camera. I'm in my kitchen, so I don't have my video rig in here, so I'll try not to make you seasick. We're going to start here and then we'll move into the studio. So we'll be out here very, very quickly. What we're going to do here is we're going to make our paste. And it's very, very simple. It's literally just 2 parts water to 1 part flour, and you whisk them together. So there's my water, and I'm going to put in some flour, and it's really kind of whatever consistency you want. So I'm going to whisk these together. I'm using bread flour because that's what I had on hand. Pandemic and all, been making a lot of bread. But use what you have. If all-purpose flour is what you have, then use that. This is just flour and water, so I am using a bowl that I will use for food again later, because I'm not using anything for this project that's not food safe. If you're using glue, I would recommend going with something that you are not going to use again. So maybe go to the dollar store and just get an inexpensive kind of bowl. All right, so that kind of does it. That's really it. So you get this kind of pasty, I don't know, it feels kind of grainy, but it mostly looks like water. But that's just it. It's just 2 parts water to 1 part flour. Whisk it all together, and then you're good to go. So let's take this into the studio and we will continue working. Jakey, what do you think? Should we teach everybody paper mache? Yeah? Should we teach everybody paper mache? Are you camera ready? Are you camera ready? Okay, we will see how well this is going to work out. If it doesn't work out, I will reset up in my studio. But it is such a nice day outside that I thought, why not? Why not try to shoot outside? So that's what I'm doing. Wish me luck. I've not shot anything outside yet, but it's so beautiful out and I've got this lovely gazebo. Why not? Why not sit out here and make some art? And this is a messy project. So it can be very messy. I'm very messy when I paper mache. So have a towel on hand, which I absolutely do not have, or some extra paper towels or something, and work outside if you can. I apologize for the road noise. I live on a very, very busy street, and I have some very loud neighbor dogs. So I apologize in advance if that's all coming through on my lavalier. Again, I may just end up talking over this, and doing this. So I don't know if there's enough in frame for you to see. So I've got my bowl of water with flour in it. Again, it's about a 2-to-1 ratio of water to flour. So you can kind of see, right, it moving around in there. Keep this in the fridge in between sessions of working so that it doesn't spoil on you because it is flour. I'll also include some recipes on how to use glue or other things. If you buy the paper mache kind of powdery stuff, there'll be instructions on the container on how to use that. You can certainly use that, or you can use Elmer's glue. That's a thing that's possible as well. And I'll leave a recipe for that down below. Other than that, the technique is going to be pretty much the same. I'll also include links to other techniques on how to make things. I'm just going to show you one technique, but there's really no wrong way to do this. So I'll show you a few different things to get you started, and then I'll link you to a couple of different mask making tutorials of people who have tried other things. Neighbor dogs. Of people who have tried other things and have been able to make other things happen. So let's get started. All right, so this is I'm going to set my flour water off to the side so I can bring this into frame. So this is my mold that I'm using for my head. This is just a bunch of grocery bags all tied together into one grocery bag. And then I have that wrapped up into one more because I didn't think it was quite big enough. And I've got them pretty firmly packed in there. So this is a use for them. And really the only bag that's going to get destroyed is this outer one. Is going to get kind of covered in this flour water. The rest of them will be fine, so you can still reuse them. or recycle them or whatever. So, but this is a good use for these plastic grocery bags if you have them. You can also use, again, a foam head if you've got one. I have one of those and I thought about using it, but I thought, who's got those, right? Other than me. But if you have one or a mannequin head, you can certainly use that. I would say cover the face with plastic wrap first. You could do a balloon, and I will show you a technique of somebody who does this using a balloon, and it turns out quite beautiful. So, I did not bring a Sharpie with me out here, but I would recommend doing a rough sketch of where your facial features are going to be on your head here so that you can kind of follow that as a map. So hold on, I'm gonna go get me a marker. Okay, I'm back. I have my Sharpie. So we're just gonna kind of smooth this head down, kind of make a shape out of it that's sort of head-like. And you want to think about, how is this going to rest on your head? Is it just going to cover the eyes? And we live in an age where wearing a mask is becoming kind of normalized because of COVID-19. So can you incorporate a mask with this, like a mask that might filter things out? Is this, somehow related to that? Like, could you wear, a COVID-19 mask, like an N95 or a fabric mask with this? Or could there be like a fabric patch over the mouth that would help cover over the mouth and nose? So think about those things, right? Like, how can you add those things in? So this doesn't have to be anything real specific. You just want to kind of map out where the larger shapes will be. Try to do this. Yeah, that was a big truck. So I may do this without my talking and just put music over it so you don't have to hear the traffic noises. Okay, and that's what the face on my mask is going to look like. Yours may look very different. Hopefully it will. And so I brought various kinds of paper out here. So I'm going to move her out of the way really quickly so I can show you what I brought. I brought some old toilet paper. This was stuff that we'd bought when really all you could buy was that whatever was on the shelves. And it's really super thin and it's just not my favorite. So I did bring a roll of toilet paper. I know a month ago we all would have murdered each other for this, but today, this is going to be the sacrificial lamb for art. I also brought some book pages out. These are from an old dictionary, and so they're nice and thin, and they will absorb the paper or the flour water very well, so we will use some of that. So I'll show you what that looks like. I have an old ad for Joann's Fabrics, which is old now. It's not any good. So we will tear pages out of this and use this so you can see what that looks like. And then I have an old blue book that used to belong to a student. This is from a test from a long, long time ago. They never picked up their test. So I'm going to use the blank pages out of the back, and you will see what that looks like. So you can even use filler paper from like the dollar store or something like that. It doesn't have to be anything terribly expensive. All right, so let's talk about how to build this up. So now the toilet paper is of course going to be the thinnest paper. So this is going to, as toilet paper does, almost disintegrate into this solution. Oh, and this is a solution, so it's not a suspension. So eventually all that flour is going to sink to the bottom of the bowl again. So you will have to continually kind of stir it up to keep everything towards the top. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right, so I'm just going to give this a quick little stir. You can see how everything was kind of sunk to the bottom a little bit. All right, and I'm going to dip this in again. It's going to just about disintegrate. But what's great for sculpture is now it's going to be almost like a pliable clay. Look at what that did, right? Just getting it a little bit wet, turn it into a pliable clay. So now I can put this on my sculpture and use this to create facial features. Some artists use a polymer clay for this, which you absolutely could do, but that's like one more thing you have to buy, right? And so we want to do this on the cheap. All right, let me get this in view here. Ooh, I'm in this shadow. Let me move her into the sunshine a little bit more. So now I'm going to build up. You just want to build up the things, right, that would be built up. So like the nose, the brow ridge, anything like that, that would be built up. And that's what I'm using this toilet paper for. You could do this with other paper. It does not have to be toilet paper by any means at all. Whew, I'm making a mess out here, y'all. All right, let's build this nose up a little bit. Sharpie is good to draw your pattern out with because it will not wash away with just water. So that's why I used a Sharpie. Some markers will, alcohol markers will not. And I'm just doing this kind of quickly just to give you the idea. So again, it is messy. You may end up having to make more flour. In the past when we've done this, one bowl was usually kind of enough, but sometimes it takes more than that. So I'm going to differentiate kind of the bridge of the nose here from the eyebrow. And then my nose needs to be built out a little more. So I'm just kind of figuring out the shape as I go. I may decide that it's just too messy at some point and let it dry and then build up layers in between. If I'm working outside like I am, it'll actually dry pretty quickly, which is kind of nice. Jake, how did you get out here? I am going to give this figure a nice, shapely nose. I like nice big noses. All right, what does a nose look like? You may have to look at pictures, right, to see what a nose looks like, to build one out. You see how I'm building that nose out? Building up the brow bone. Maybe I want to build out the cheekbones a little bit. Right, our cheekbones protrude out. You could also get dollar store paper towels. Those tend to be really thin, and they're inexpensive because they're from the dollar store. Honestly, their copy paper is pretty thin. You could probably do this with that. Give this lady some cheekbones. All right. Whew. Her nose is sliding. So her nose is sliding off. If this was something I was really working with, I would probably let her dry and just kind of a little bit and kind of monitor that. It's because I've got a lot of heavy paper and it's kind of at an angle, so I might tip her back and just let it dry a little bit to let it kind of set up. Look at it from all angles too, right? Make sure that you're getting a nice, even kind of nose. All right. But this will kind of get us started. So once you've got the shape of the face down, the general kind of shape of the face down, what you will do is you will cover this up with an entire layer of paper strips to kind of smooth the whole thing out. And you want there to be a nice thick layer of paper over the whole mask area, whatever you want the mask area to be. I would say at least have it cover your nose and your eyes, but it's best if it's covering your nose, your eyes, and your chin. So now I just tore a long strip of paper, notebook paper. I dipped it in my flour mixture, and now I am just going to lay this out on top to kind of smooth this over and give this a nice even skin all over. I'm going to make sure I get down into all the crevices where I want there to be crevices. I'm going to build it out where I want it to be built out. All right, so tearing a long strip of paper, tearing it in half, dipping it in the flour, and then placing it. And sometimes you might end up with like some weird spots, like this is trying to go over quite a few different shapes. Just kind of ease it in. The paper is wet, right? And so it will want to conform to the shape. You can use, if you have old spoons or anything that you don't mind using for art projects, you could use some of those as tools to help you kind of smooth things down. But I've always used my fingers, and students have an easy time with that, so. All right, pick another strip. Loud truck. I hope this is usable footage. I really don't want to have to reshoot this inside the house. Decide on how high up you want to go and go a little beyond that. You can cut it down when you're done to the size. It's better to make it a little too big than not have it big enough. All right. Oops. A piece of paper got kind of folded over on itself. So you have to be delicate with it because it will tear. And this is... And all the neighborhood dogs go nuts at once. So it is wet, so it will get a little delicate. So you want to smooth it out, smooth out all your edges. Be gentle with it. You want to make sure that you're getting the paper saturated so that you can smooth it out one layer on top of the other. Yeah, regretting my life choices. And it's pretty saturated. I'm going to put a dry piece on top and let it kind of absorb some of that flour water. All right. And can you see how it's starting to build up and kind of take the shape that I want it to take? Do you see how that's creating like an eye socket here and a cheekbone and a nose, right? So I'm going to cover the whole area that I want to be masked with this, with paper mache, with this flour, water, paper kind of mixture. All right. And do at least 3 or 4 layers. So one layer is not going to be strong enough. Do at least 3 or 4 layers all the way around. Oh, and I said we were going to try some of these other papers and see what they looked like. So this is an ad, right? Like you might see. This is an ad like you might get in the mail. So I'm going to put this in the flour water. Like this will work too. It's a little thicker, so it might be better for some of the top layers and where you don't want it to conform as well. Like this is struggling a little bit to kind of conform without any wrinkles. So the thinner the paper, the better. You know, I gotta tear it a little bit to get it to conform around shapes. So work with this paper, get it to conform as well as you can. Let's see, that worked just fine, right? You can use magazine papers, you can use old papers, maybe old homework paper, right, that you don't need anymore, you don't want anymore, or, you know, things that you've decided to redo or what have you. Old books, if you've got any old books laying around that are just falling apart or no good. Like dictionaries are only good for so long, and then like the words that are in them are kind of obsolete or just, you know, they've changed definition or what have you. So this is this is like a 40-year-old dictionary. It's pretty old at this point. And maybe I kind of want some of these words to show in my final layer, like when I paint on top of it. This might be a cool kind of surface technique. So I might even decide that I'll do like, you know, copy paper or something else for my lower layers. And then for my top layer, maybe I want dictionary pages. So I get all these words kind of popping through. Like, look how cool that looks, right? All right. So hopefully this has given you some ideas. I don't want to make this video too long, so I think I'm going to stop it here. But I will continue along so that I have something to do for a second demo. And I will see you in the next video. So good luck. It's a messy project. Like, it's super messy. I don't know if you can see. I've got this all over my table, which is why I decided to work outside. If you have the option of working outside, I highly, highly recommend it. So, because it is messy. Set down newspapers or a painting tarp. Yep, loud traffic. Sit down newspapers or a painting tarp or something like that to work on, so that you have, you know, something easy cleanup. If you can, do your best. If you live in an apartment and you have roommates and you can only work in your room, you know, maybe you want to do just a smaller mask, right? Something a little bit simpler. So, all right. So again, I'm going to continue along. I will finish this up to a point, and then I will show you the next video, the next step. All right. See you. Bye. Ooh, look at my hands. Ugh.